Hello, everybody. Welcome to the StarCrossed gamers, also known in some circles as the StarCrossed Barons. We are
Wow.
back on another Sunday. Uh, I am Johnny, as always, and also as always, I'm joined by my good friend Baron J67 of Level 1 Gaming. How's it going?
Hello. You know what, man? It's pretty cool. The gameplay that folks are seeing right now is a game I'm currently reviewing. Shout out to Prime Matter for getting us a review copy of Dolmen. It is a sci-fi Lovecraftian creature space filled monster game, Souls like. Um, that's a cheap way of describing it, which I'm gonna do my best not to say in my review. But yes, it is a very much a Souls like experience in space. There's a lot of crafting. There is a wide amount of weapons to use. So far, I've only had not this cool axe. I have that axe that you see on screen right now, and it's been an intense experience. I would off bat describe this as a double A game from the experience that I've had so far, but I'm trying to save a lot of it for my review. And the fact that you guys are seeing this content bar goes already up, so it's not a world class mystery. But yeah, Dolmen, Prime Matter, they're bringing out some good stuff. Crazy enough, Johnny, Prime Matter is they are the people. They have a helm over Mountain Blade.
Is that so? Man, well, good thing we aren't fans of that around here, are we?
Right. But yeah. So far, I'm having some fun with it. Naturally, I'm getting my butt kicked. And then they have this crazy mechanic where it costs resources that you lose while fighting and dying throughout the world in order to summon people to help you out. So it's this is not handholdy at all.
Could it by chance be called Souls?
Yeah, that's yeah. But that's such a cheap and easy thing to do. To go and just call everything that's difficult and has a parry system a Souls game. Um, it
Or
it
For
does
Honor Clan?
right. What's crazy though is it has some mechanics that makes it stand out. Like the they really, instead of being an animation thing of taking potions and stuff in battle, potions, wow, instead of taking energy cells in battle, it's like a bar that pops up like consuming whatever you're consuming, and you're just having like a mini panic attack as you're trying to time it perfectly so you're not beat up, and it kills your process of you trying to take your to refill your energy as you get hit. So I'm currently in this boss battle fighting a giant version of the things from Starship Troopers.
Oh no. If I know
Yeah.
anything about Starship Troopers, it's that you're not gonna have a fun time.
No, the insects always win.
No, even in that I don't know what the name of it is. It's like a cartoon that they did, and they just love being very vulgar on it.
Yeah. Oh, bro, the insects definitely win. Um, it, and these insects are ridiculously OP, bro. Like I'm getting, I well, I did make the mistake of picking the what what's that build, like the build where you start with nothing. Like that's the build
Like
I
a
chose.
cretin or something.
Yeah, like I basically picked that version in this universe, so I can't be mad at anybody but myself.
No, I mean that makes sense. Well, tonight's discussion is not about Dolmen, although it
Hmm.
does seem like a very interesting game as you're seeing gameplay. Not even I'm
Yes.
seeing gameplay. um,
Oh, oops.
so What what the plan for tonight's discussion is an upcoming instant cult classic hitting the mean streets of Sandrock called My Time at Sandrock. Now, um I guess by the time this goes live, the embargo would have dropped, so I'm allowed to talk about everything that I'm about to
Yeah.
talk about. I got to get my hands on a copy, not the early access version, mind you. It is like a halfway house, but man, what a game! Now, for anybody unfamiliar with the My Time games, uh, it is essentially, the quickest way I can explain it to you is think of it as like a 3D, what's it called, Stardew Valley.
Mm.
And I know you've put a lot of time into Stardew
Oh
Valley.
yeah. I've played a
You know, you've
lot of Stardew.
you've married everyone that would have you.
You know,
You've you
anybody that'll take me, I let them have me.
hundreds of potatoes grown. Um,
Actually, I was more of a distiller. I was selling a lot of the wine and making jelly.
oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Well, unlike Stardew Valley, you're not really being a farmer man in this. You're being a builder. Now, I know we've talked about this before, but not in great detail. You own My Time at Portia, which is the game that came before Sandrock. You've not
Mm-hmm.
even booted it up once, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So, if you are looking for a complete experience after hearing about these games and wanted to pick it up, get Portia because it's a good introductory. Um, it's a good way to get into the two games. The first one, obviously.
Okay.
Um, it has a lot of because this early access version that's about to drop in 5 days from now. Um, it does not have a lot of the features in it in the early access build that Porsche has now, if that makes sense. Um, but do also keep tabs on Sandrock. Um, but to stay on the point of Sandrock, because that's the one more fresh in my mind. Let me tell you that this is probably the prime example of developers actually taking feedback into heart and um, putting them into the sequel. Like I know there's a lot of people that, or I'm sorry, a lot of studios that actually like pay attention, but these guys are the kings because so many quality of life improvements have been made. It's like a night and day difference almost.
What's the biggest one that you feel like? What's the biggest change as somebody who enjoyed the first one and now playing we'll call it like a media review build of
Yeah,
Sandrock. Like what's been the biggest quality of life change?
it's like you know, um, you learn to walk and then you learn to run. But in Sandrock, you skip the walking and you go straight to running. In Porsche, it costs stamina to. I'm sorry, it doesn't cost stamina as in like whatever. There's like a stamina bar for sprinting around and like doing combat rolls and stuff. But because the map is bigger this time around, they've went ahead and
Okay.
made they've made the ability to sprint just free. You can just do it as much as you want, and I think that is so much better because you can actually like get to places in a reasonable amount of time. You don't have to spend like like me in the on the track back when I was in school. I was always the one trailing at the far back, just out of breath for going like 10 meters in a sprint. Um, and that's basically what happens in Porsche, but in Sandrock, you're like the kid that did like 2 extra laps just for fun. Um, Mr. Sanik's got to go fast himself.
Did you
Um,
just call Sonic Sanix?
yeah, that's his name. Sanic and Mario.
We're not gonna let him get away with this. We're not gonna
You
let this
know,
happen.
it already happened, and some of these things, we just have to accept. Um, Next you're gonna be telling me like, you can't call Mario Mario, or you can't call a Pokemon a Pokemon.
Oh, sweet God, he's one of those. He's a monster. He's a
Well,
villain.
I am not a villain. That's a very hurtful smear of my reputation, and sometimes I just I think about it at night as I'm trying to go to sleep, and I'm just like, why does everyone think I'm a monster? I'll have to wipe the tears from my eyes. I'm like,
And it's because you
I'm
call
really a
Sonic
good
Sanic.
person.
You villain. How do
With
you
that being
sleep at night?
said, who was the villain in Deceit?
You. We have record.
We have an edited record
Wow.
that you can
Go
check
off.
on. I mean, listen, the proof is in the pudding, my friend. If you were to find that video right now and you were to watch it in full and hit like and subscribe, um, you'll see that clearly, you took advantage of me not knowing the game mechanics. I didn't even know that there were two
Wow.
monsters. I thought there was just one.
Wow. I don't even know what to say to this haberdashery. It's not
You
even the
you
right
know
word,
you
but I'm just.
you're the traitor or the monster the first 2 rounds, and you're like, Johnny doesn't know how to play, and then I get to be a monster at the end
Wow.
of the video, and it's just like, oh, hashtag cancel Johnny. Even your kids are calling me a monster. It's just
Because,
like, oh my god.
the truth is in the children know the truth.
I mean, do they though? You can't
Yeah.
handle the truth, said famously.
But keep going. Sandrock. You being a
Yes.
monster and unlimited sprinting. Keep going.
Yeah, I mean that was a huge quality of life improvement that I enjoyed. Um, Another one is that you don't feel rushed in this one. Um, Not to spoil plot points in Portia, but the way these games work is that like you'll get these like big projects in quotations,
Okay.
like the very first one in Portia is like build a bridge, you know. Um, I don't know what the first one in Sandrock is. I forget off the top of my head, but you get these big projects, and then as you're working on them, you can start doing like these um regular commissions that are posted at the office, and then those will be like build like 3 tables or something in your crafting bench. Um, in Porsche though, they you the there's a rival builder, and if you're too slow, he'll like because we're both actively trying to complete it at the same time, and it's just like whoever builds more is rewarded with more in a very
Oh.
Spartan way of handling it. So if you're slow and you haven't really built up the resources ahead of time, he'll just smoke you, and he'll build like 4 out of 5 of like the components or whatever. But in Sandrock, there's no such thing. Um, your partner. Well, I shouldn't say partner. You're not pitted off against the other builder in Sandrock. You're like friends,
Okay.
and it's like a night and day difference because he'll in Porsche it's like I'm gonna beat you, you little punk. And then at Sandrock, it's like, oh man, we got this. Let's do it together. You handle this
Oh.
part, and I'll do this part. It's so it's
Now,
like
do you think that was due to complaints of feeling rushed in the previous one?
I don't know if the community at large would post it to that. Um, Maybe they just didn't like the fact that there was this antagonistic relationship the whole time.
Oh,
Because
it
much like
never got better. Like,
no, he's a jerk the whole way through. um, At least in my playthroughs, maybe if you like try to be friends with him in like the classic like Stardew way, maybe he's like maybe he's nice to you, but mechanically in terms of like those big contracts, nothing changes. Um
oh wow.
and oh gosh, okay, yeah, this is also another big improvement. Um so you're familiar with Stardew and you're
Yeah.
familiar with having to like build up the friendship bar or whatever
Oh yeah.
with people. The same thing applies in these two My Time games. However, in Portia, um, it would cost you energy or stamina to do some of the mini games. If you wanted to spar, it would cost you 5 stamina. If you wanted to play rock paper scissors with them, it costs you 5 energy. And then you can do that 3 times each with each of the two, so it costs you like 30 energy to grind out um all of the activities for one character. But Sandrock,
And now, how
that
long does it take you to build up said stamina?
to build up the stamina, well, you have a full bar at the start of each day, and you usually, I forget what the average. I'll say in Porsche it's like 300 to start with, but in
Okay.
Sandrock I think it's like 400 to start.
Okay.
But I'm sure all of the numbers are subject to change. So call me
Is
a
it
big liar.
a stat based thing? Like, oh, my endurance is up, so I have more stamina, or
Um, it is tied to like levels. So as you are leveling up, you can earn more stamina. And I'm pretty sure if you place certain objects down in your house, they will also give you a stamina boost. I think clothes do that as well, but I could be wrong. I know there's the defense stat clothing options right now, but I can't remember if there's stamina ones, but
mm,
uh in the My Time, both My Time games, um a large portion of the way you gain these like friendship boosts is through gift giving. Is that something you're familiar with as well?
yeah, within Stardew Valley, like you got to
Yeah.
give the perfect gift. Like it's not just
Mm-hmm.
any gift; it has to be the Like you get more points based on something they like. Like, oh, this person likes this type of stuff. This person likes this type, and so on and so forth.
Yeah. So it's the same thing here. Basically, what this boils down to is if you've played Stardew, then you'll understand how My Time works, but in a
Okay.
3D environment. But in Porsche, like like literally 90% of all like relationship grinding is just the gifts, and that got very tiring for a lot of people, and even the devs made
Mm,
note of it in one of their posts where it's like, and this is a paraphrasing, but in one of like the AMAs they did, someone asked about like if they're gonna innovate how like relationships work, and like the response they gave was like, yeah, we realize that spamming people with gifts is not really how relationships work. So we're gonna definitely give it some more thought into how to make it more realistic. And from what they've shown in the media build, I guess we'll call it,
okay.
um there is improvements because you can eventually like um you know become joined at the hip with a character of your choosing. I've in this playthrough, because just to keep it simple, I went with Mian, who is the other builder, which kind of sounds like, I don't really feel like that would be legal, but sidebar.
Like you
Um,
guys are just monopolizing the whole
yeah.
because give a premise and give a difference because I know the difference, but for those who don't know, give a difference in the scenario you're in terms of Portia to or Portia to Sandrock, like
In
environment
terms,
in
wait,
ter-
say that again.
in terms of the environment.
Oh, okay. So like Portia, or they've said Portia and Portia is like are both correct, so
Oh,
don't worry
okay,
about pronunciation.
got you.
Um, in Portia, you're like in these like think of it as like, your average like Zelda game where it's like the pretty greens and like the sweeping hills and stuff. Um, I think you're by the yeah, you are by the ocean, so you'll get like the beach and all pretty as most environments are. In Sandrock, um the name kind of spells out where you are. There's a lot of sand and there's a lot of rocks. Anakin Skywalker would not be very happy. Um, you're in the
Oh,
middle of the desert, and I don't know if you've ever been to a desert, my friend. There's not a lot of water out there,
yeah, it's
and
definitely not the most aquatic scenario, not the greenest of places.
everyone says to move on to greener pastures, but I'm afraid that's not a choice out there. Um, to like they've added a new mechanic, which is like water. Because it's a desert, water is scarce. You gotta keep track of what little you have.
Hmm.
And I'm gonna go ahead and say that it's fair, even if I find it tedious, because
Okay.
I don't know if that makes sense. Like it
No, it
does make
does.
sense. Um, it the you're not allowed to take from the one oasis in town because it's like the life. It's like the anchor point for the whole town. So what you have to do is you have to go out and get your own water essentially. And that comes in the form of like chopping down like shrubbery because you can't chop down trees either for similar reasons.
Yeah, because you don't
Um
want to get rid of like just life in the desert.
yeah. You'll be they'll kick you out on a horse with no name if you don't you don't follow their way of life. Um So you got to find your own sources of wood, which is not hard at all. You got to find your own water, which actually is I'm not going to say challenging, but if you don't pay attention to it, you will find yourself in a lot of trouble. Um because the way water is handled is that it's used for two things mechanically.
Okay.
You need to keep your water tank at least anything above zero, um, because it is what's keeping your machinery from like overheating.
Oh, so your
If you ever,
machines use water as well as you. Do you need to drink water to survive?
no, thankfully not. Food
Okay.
is not a concern.
Okay. Good.
Me,
I was like, oof.
it would be really harsh, but you know what? Please don't add that in an update, please. But it'll each machine costs like point 0.5 waters a day or something. There's like a calculation and stuff. And then what did I say? It's the machinery is using water, and then when you finally dabble in farming, it costs an entire water to water an individual plant. And that one feels a lot more harsh than the machinery, funnily enough. You
Mm,
would think it'd be the opposite, like, one little water can water like 10 plants, right? But not in Sandrock. I guess the crucial technology um of what did I just said it. Um Watering cans. Oh my gosh.
gotcha.
Watering cans are just not a thing anymore. I guess that's considered evil tech by the Church of Light. Um
Now, who's the Church of Light? I've heard you say this a few times.
well, if you've ever played Dark Souls, you'll understand the Church of Light. This is like world building stuff, but basically, you're living in like a post-apocalyptic world. Spoilers. Um, in the aftermath, there's like I don't. I think the name of the leader is has been stated multiple times. I just can't remember what it is.
Gotcha.
But he was like a very influential figure, and he founded or is responsible for the founding of the Church of Light. Um, Thankfully not very culty. Um,
Oh, okay. I was gonna say, I was like,
like
this game sounds dark.
no. I have a feeling if they wanted to, they could very well spin it into something very dark very quickly. But as they're trying to keep it at least PG, um, it's very mundane and they're quite chill.
Okay, so not super evil beings, but remotely evil
Now,
beings.
it it's like in um it's like if you found out like your pastor is like part of like some underground website somewhere.
Oh
It's
Lord.
like, oh my god. Um that's the Church of Light. Um in Portia, the first game, they're actually a lot more strict. Um if you ever find like technology discs or like data discs, I think they're called, under like when you're mining and stuff, you could give it to the church and they'll give you like I think money. I don't remember what they give you in Portia because I never
Okay.
did it. Um, but they're kind of anti-science because they think like the technology led to the apocalypse and apocalypse bad. Um, that's kind of the gist, you know. They're anti-tech. Um, but in Sandrock, I think a lot of people probably can like complain about that point because in Sandrock, they are specifically much more lax. They're
It's
like,
like,
yeah,
hey, we're not all the way, you know. It's all
they say
good.
the rationale is that because everything is so like harsh in Sandrock, you got to do what you got to do to survive, and so
Ah,
they're much more lax and like they'll let people carry like guns, which I guess is like considered one of the dangerous techs in other parts of the world.
okay.
Uh,
But it really does press upon the fact that you're in a wild area that humanity is trying to quote unquote tame.
yeah.
Gotcha.
Um, this is it's very reminiscent of think of it as like the old gold rush, a lot of people I guess came to Sandrock because it was built upon like the like a superplex or something, or like a huge metropolis or something in the old world, so there was like a lot of tech.
Ah, okay.
um and I guess when that whole gold rush died down, or tech rush, um then everyone left, but the people that are still around, it made the town, so that's that. The only other group that's really important to the story is you have the church, and then you have the civil corps, which are like I don't really know what they would be. Like in this one, they're like sheriffs,
Okay.
Um, but it's kind of implied they're like a pseudo like military, I guess, or um like an armed police force. It's kind of
Okay.
strange. Um, because in Sandrock, they're like sheriff and deputy or whatever to match the Western setting.
Okay.
But if you read like the newspapers, and they'll give you a bit more world building. In the north of like the Alliance borders, they're like squaring up with like the Duvos Empire or something. And apparently like the civil corps up there are like a lot more strict because like they're having to fight border skirmishes or something.
Mm.
And that doesn't really sound like the job of like, your average day-to-day police force. So I'm guessing they're like I don't know what they are. They haven't given us a lot of detail. But in Sandrock they're also quite cool because the they've given you the developers, they've given you a lot of ways to kind of skip out on grinds. Um, so both the civil core and in this game, like these minor deeds, um, they'll both like you can contract them to give you like the resources in their respective areas. So, if you wanted to pay miners to go bring you like iron scrap, they'll do it for you.
Oh
I think
snaps.
there's
Okay.
like I didn't do it because it didn't really seem like a viable option for me because I just had like 100 of each resource, so I didn't really need it. But
Gotcha.
if you're a player that doesn't like mining, then give it a go. And then the same thing for the Civil Core. They'll like go into like the dungeons, which are like the other form of like dungeon diving, and they'll bring you back like like the mob drops and stuff if that makes sense.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Got you.
and that's I think you're able to do that in Portia, not with the mining, but at least with like the Civil Core one. But again, just like in Sandrock here, doesn't really feel like good enough to really spend the money on. Like maybe if they
Ah.
made it cheaper or if they gave you more for the price that they charge, maybe it would be worth it. So, if you're in the 1 in a million chance you're a dev listening to this, maybe tweak the numbers a bit. Um, but that's that. Um,
Now this is the media build of the game so far, and it's
yes,
gonna go into early access, right?
that's right. On
Okay.
the I have the 5 days from now. So what's today? The 26th.
Okay.
That's going to be a busy couple days for me. Sandrock early access, and then the day after Kenobi.
Ooh.
Um,
Ooh.
I, as soon as we start talking Star Wars, it just derails whole episodes. So I'm not
Yeah.
gonna
That's
really
why.
get into that.
That's why
But
I
I
didn't
will
even say
just,
nothing extra.
I just want it known for the record. Especially since I'm not here to debate it with people. Um, since they've brought the main cast from the movies into this project, it has to be a home run or it'll be a flop. You know what I mean?
What's a home run
You
to
can't.
you?
Well, it just it can't suck. Like
Okay.
you know how whether it's justified or not, there is a split in like people who like Mando. Like
True.
some people say like, oh my gosh, best show of the world. And some people see it like is, they had this cool premise and then they instantly took a right turn.
True.
Um there can't be that dividing well, I mean obviously in today's world that's hard, but there can't be enough of that or they can't give them the ammo.
I
Think
got you.
of like yeah, you get what I mean.
No, I 100% get you.
It has to be good. You can't bring in Ewan McGregor and drop the ball. And that's
Do
my take
you?
on Kenobi.
Okay, yeah. My one question is, do you see him joining in on something that's not top tier?
Well, uh, honestly, if you pay him enough money, like any actor will probably do a bad project for enough money. But knowing Ewan McGregor as someone who enjoys the Star Wars community and like the fan base and stuff, I'm sure we'll be fine. Like I'm not being a cynic or a conspiracy theorist on this. I'm just saying they can't mess it up. Um, but I did see that already. Apparently, one of the Inquisitors looks very bad because he was like in another piece of Star Wars already, and it just doesn't even look close to the other model. So hopefully that turns out all
Ah,
right. But anyways, that's enough Star Wars.
got you.
um, Sandrock. As this, we've talked about it once or twice, like the game, but I don't think I've ever asked you. Um, as someone that played a lot of Stardew Valley and hearing me talk about it and rave about it, um, do you think this is something you would actually get into?
Yeah. So it's definitely calling out to me, but my only problem is I don't usually play games that like the farming games like Rune Factory, Stardew Valley. Um, I love them. Like I like the idea of the infinite grind. Like I'm not against that at all. You know, you're talking to somebody who plays a lot of games like Disgaea, XCOM. Um, as somebody who's put hundreds of hours in XCOM, I've never beaten any of them, and I don't have a
And you
problem with
always and you root for the aliens, according to last week's podcast.
that. But I so I'm not against it, right? But I've always been of I've always had that whole idea of there's so many games to play.
Mm-hmm.
So I find myself in that situation of like, do I really want to sit here and get stuck with one game? And I say stuck in the most respectful way possible because, like I said,
No,
I
of
truly,
course.
I truly like these games. Um, Same reason why I don't play Destiny anymore. Uh, Another reason why I put down WoW. You know what I mean? Like I usually don't stick with one game for long the time that it's worth or times that it's needed to give it the true full experience.
No, that makes sense, 100%. Um, I know in what limited time I've played in Stardew Valley, um, there's not really a plot in Stardew, is there? Besides like the community center or whatever.
Yeah, the whole thing of the community center, you need to have your farm at a certain point within a certain amount of time, if I'm not mistaken. To is it to make your grandfather happy or your great uncle?
I no idea.
Because the
I thought
ghost
I
of your
thought
uncle, that was the
all was
community center.
Ghost.
Yeah, I want to say that's part of the community center. So I think outside of the community center and certain events, I don't think there's really much of a oh my god you need to finish this type scenario.
Okay. See, I think maybe that's something these My Time games do that Stardew doesn't, is that they actually give you a plot to follow.
Oh, okay,
Um, yeah, so like in My Time at Porsche, now for as a disclaimer, I've played a lot of it. Let's see, how many hours do I have in it? 70 hours in My Time at Porsche.
got you.
Um, there is a plot. I've gotten quite far into it, but I never reached the finish line. Um, in the same thing with Sandrock, there is a plot. Uh, it, I won't spoil it for the Sandrock one, but the media build gives you a lot. I don't really know how much of the plot, like maybe a quarter of it. I'm assuming. Um, but there's supposed to be a whole plot line revolving around a specific character who you'll learn about almost immediately. Um, And once I hit the end of the media build, it does say like, you've hit the end of this version, but like stay tuned to the early access for the whole thing, I guess. So, um there is something to work towards, and I'm guessing by the end of that, you'll basically be maxed out for anything you'd want to do.
Okay.
Um so there, I guess theoretically there is room for like the perpetual grind, like ad infinitum. Is that what it is? Ad
Yeah, I think.
infinitum.
Yeah, my Latin is trash.
Oh yeah. Um, I apologize to my Latin ancestors. Um, but yeah, to your point, there are infinite grinds here, but I think something that they've done very well is giving you a stopping point if you choose to just call it there.
Ah, okay. That's fair. Like, give people options.
Yeah. Um, something I will say, I have not been able to experience it yet because it was not in the build. But something that I think is really going to be improved upon in Sandrock is the voice acting. Um,
Ah, that was actually going to be my next question. How is it voice acting? Is it a lot of like you hear keyboard clicking and like what is it?
yes. In Portia there is voice acting. Um, it kind of does the thing where it'll read the line that's like in text form also at the same time. Uh, but it'll just weirdly not match.
Ah, I got you.
um, but to be fair, this is a Chinese studio writing it in, I'm assuming Chinese, and then translating it to English. So I'm very forgiving. I'm not. The English is probably not their first language, so
Got you.
um, I'm very lenient. Um, but this time around, they've made it known that they've partnered with a studio, like I guess more professional than the ones that they were with. I guess I don't really know the details of that, and I don't think anyone
But
really does.
they're going out of their way to make sure to acknowledge that hey, we want better voice acting this time around.
Yeah, yeah, correct. That's right. Um, and from what I've seen in the early access version that's dropping soon, the voice acting will be like revolving around the main story and certain events.
Okay.
Will be voice acted, and I'm guessing as the game is progressing in development, more and more lines will be added for like all of the miscellaneous stuff, and that's fine. Not everything needs to be voice acted day one.
100%.
Especially if it's like those voice lines that you're going to hear about 1,000 times
Yeah.
anyways.
Yeah,
It's
like
like,
you
how
just
was
want
your day today?
you just want key moments to so you know you're being valued.
Yeah, like cutscenes.
Yeah.
There's a lot of cutscenes in this, and I'm assuming that's what they're really talking about here. Is like cut voice. What's it called? The cutscenes will probably have voice acting. The like fireside chats or whatever, which is like weekly meetings with the whole town. I'm guessing those are probably going to be voice acted, and then like uh what are they called? Like each character as you progress with their relationship, this time around they're gonna have like more like their own little mini stories, I guess is how they're describing it.
Also, they're
Um
not just in a world to exist for you. They have their own ebbs and flows.
yeah,
That's
that's
cool.
the gist they've given. Um
Have you
from what
experienced that at all?
Yeah, well, kind of.
Okay.
In the like I said a little bit earlier, I've only really focused on Mian in this just to keep it simple.
Fair.
Um, I've not delved into the relationships of like all the other characters. Um, but with Mian, I um there's a couple of like little like side missions you can do with her, and what's her name? Elise? Uh,
Okay,
there's you're like a triangle of friends, kind of, if that makes sense.
I got
And
you.
like the three of you will go off and do stuff.
The three best
Um,
friends that anyone can have. No, but keep going.
yeah, I'm assuming like the cut. No, actually, I don't know if there are cutscenes in that in those like triangle of fun missions. I don't know, but I'm assuming things like that will also have voice acting. And but, um, a long story short, there, um, I'm very anxious to see how it actually goes. If it's on Portia level, I'm gonna be a little disappointed because, um, I mean, this isn't anything against the actors slash actresses in the slightest. It just doesn't. If you're playing Portia, sometimes it just doesn't really sound natural. It does really feel like they're just reading lines.
Got you.
Um, but they know what they're doing. They've read the feedback. I'm quite confident. Which is quite rare, I think. A lot of people are very like somber about games all of a sudden. Um,
Well, it's
you
well.
know,
Let's be honest here. We can't ignore the fact that in terms of you know what I think it is, and why a lot of people have been more somber, is because more people are now paying attention on a deeper level. I think it's more so not that gaming has gotten worse. It's just we are now trying to partake, at least socially, in every aspect of gaming. Not just when the game launches, we get it and talk about it and enjoy it or not enjoy it. But now it's, oh well, did you hear who's making it? Did you like? I feel like we're caring a lot more about stuff that we used to probably not care about.
yeah, the your average gamer is getting more informed, and before you know it, the
Yes,
console war is just reignited.
yes. I think that's more so of what we're dealing with here. In my unprofessional, semi-professional, not professional opinion.
That's a lot of professional opinion right there.
You know, I kind of know what I'm talking about.
Uh, to the point I can put it in a tweet, quote you as saying this as fact.
You know, don't quote me. Uh, let's redact this portion of the pod. Um, cut.
Redact. Cut. He did not just talk about PlayStation 5 getting a huge insurge of like a
Yeah,
$200 price hike.
yeah.
He didn't say that.
Didn't say that. Not at all. You didn't hear that here first. But no. All jokes aside, um,
Um,
I think that's why it's the issue we're dealing with, the issues that we are dealing with personally.
oh gosh, yeah. Um, Maybe that hasn't really spilled into indie games. It's just kind of like it's the big guys that are getting all the attention.
That's fair.
And I'll dig with that because we don't need XXX the Destroyer XXX to pick taking pot shots at indie devs who are infinitely more likely to see that comment than a proper dev, at like
And then
a
the and
AAA
then
studio.
and then to cause more damage. Like it's crazy how much people don't realize um, reviews, Metacritic, and stuff still carry so much weight that what was it? Who I want to say it was Among Us, the Among Us creator. He was like out like, hey, I need can like please review my game because I'm from what I understood they couldn't even get any Metacritic scores or anything because nobody was personally reviewing it, and it's just nuts how much opinion like somebody getting on Steam and somebody writing up a review, how much all of that matters.
And that's why we're here,
Yep.
where everybody at level 1 gaming gets a chance, and we always extend a chance to up and coming devs.
Oh
You
yeah.
give us a code, we'll give you a 10 out of 10.
Oh Lord, that is not what happens. This guy. But no, and it's crazy because that's a whole nother conversation in itself. We've actually had that
Yeah.
talk, not on this show, but we've had that talk before. It's like, is it a bias situation? You know, do you worry about ruining a relationship, this and that? You know, and this is why I always say, be honest, but critique, don't not criticize. What's the word I say? Be constructive in your criticism. Don't bash. There you go. That's what I say. It took me a
That's
second.
right.
Yeah,
You know, for anyone not in the reviewing world, as I'm sure a lot of you aren't, think of it like, when you were in high school, or as you are in high school, if you're in that
yeah,
age range.
right.
Think of it like the band club. Nothing but drama behind the scenes.
This guy is like a monster. No, but serious.
Guy,
It's because it's easy to just get in there and be like, "Oh, this is stupid. This is dumb. I don't know why they did that." Like, no, but address what was going on, how it could be fixed, or what do you think was lacking? Why you thought it was lacking? You know, there's a difference between that and bashing.
of course. And if you yourself, noble viewer, want to try and discern the difference yourself, why don't you review our podcast? You can, and we'll tell you what sounds like bashing and what sounds like honest critique.
Yeah,
Because
like, hey, Baron
and
has no serious thoughts versus, hey, Baron's an idiot. Like, there's two different things.
yeah, I mean, I may have thought both, but I didn't say it, and
This
that's the
guy.
important part in reviewing. I'm just kidding. I love Baron. He's my best friend in the level 1 gaming space. Um uh just like My Time at Sandrock is gonna be my new best friend on Steam.
Do you really once the full version comes out, or at least the early access version comes out? Do you see yourself spending a lot of time with it?
Oh
And do
yeah.
you, yeah? What do you
Yeah,
look
like
forward to doing most?
continuing the story. Um like it's not necessarily a coffee talk situation, and
Okay.
Baron knows all what I mean here.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um Like coffee talk really got its teeth hooked into me, and Sandrock is also very interesting, but just not at that level. Um, but I'm quite interested where it goes because you do get quite far, and I'm not gonna say you're left on a cliffhanger because I've never really understood the idea of a cliffhanger, but something I would describe as a key event in the story just happens right before the end of the media build. So,
Okay.
what happens next? You know, do you really get to jump off a bridge and survive? Question mark. Um, do you really get to ride a horse across the map and visit the boat with the missing rock texture? You decide. Next
Next
time.
time on Dragon Ball Z.
Oh gosh. Um, is there anything else, my friend, that you wish to know about my time at Sandrock?
um, you know what? Honestly, I want to know what was. Hmm. What? So, what drew you to this game the most? Because I know it's. I kind of know the answer, but you brought up the building. What type of building can you do that you what level of building were you able to experience so far within this game? Because I know, and for those who don't know, Johnny is really into like me. I like to craft and farm. Johnny likes to build. That's
That's
just
right.
that's his thing. So
Just
how's
just
the
watch Valheim.
yeah, we're serious. Watch any of our Valheim gameplay, which I still claim we're gonna finish. I know Johnny doesn't believe me, but it is
I
something that
gave up.
we're gonna do. Um, But yeah, go ahead and explain to the folks what type of like
Uh,
the depth of building you get to partake in.
yeah, so you are a builder, is like the title of occupation. However, building in like the like Valheim sense is not really a thing. You get to cut like you have a house and then you have like a plot of land, and as you are earning more monies, I think they're called goals, GOLS,
Okay.
goals. Um, as you increase your stockpile of currency, you get to upgrade your plot of land to be ever so slightly larger,
Okay.
and eventually you'll be having a lot of space. And so, if you wanted to, you can increase the size of your house. You can put down a barn to start uh, raising uh, livestock. That's the word. You can reserve a lot of space for farming, or what I've done personally, and I feel like that's probably going to be the meta. Is here I am talking about metas in a single player My Time
Already
at
breaking
Sandrock
the game.
experience, is to litter your whole plot with dew collectors, which is how I get my water. Um, it kind of just works overnight, and you don't really collect anything in the day, because that makes sense. It's dew.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, and that's if you collect enough dew, then you convert it into water. Um, but just littering your plot with dew collectors, because the way you're, I guess, supposed to like bridge shortfalls with your water supply is just buying it. And
Oh,
but
okay.
it gets expensive. Like it's like
Does the
70 gold per like water, I think.
and does the like is there a market economy type? Is there an economy system in this game? Like if the drought is worse than usual, the price of water goes up, or depending on how much you've bought or resource. You know what I mean?
There are like limits on how much you can buy in one day,
Okay.
and there is kind of like a fluctuation.
Okay.
However, it's like tied to the story. So if it's like this story event that I'm not going to spoil happens, and then it's like whilst you're repairing this piece of infrastructure, the price of water is increased by 50%. uh
Uh.
so, and then like another one where it's like food items are 25% more expensive until you do this. um but to my knowledge, and I'm sure maybe it's just not in this build. I'm not ruling anything out here. Um, there may be a time where you get like 25-50% discounts on stuff down the line. That'd be nice. Um, because oh my gosh, in these crafting games, and whether it be like um like a My Time or like a Stardew or just any game with crafting, you know how there's always like these keystone resources that are like required in everything.
Yep.
In this one, for a lot of important stuff you need, it's like these grindstones, and they're the only way you can get them is buying them from the blacksmith, and they're like 500 goals each. And it like,
Yeah.
oh my, it's a little silly. I don't quite like that. Like, it makes sense that you're not going to be able to build everything. Um, and it gives like the people of the town a reason to have stores, but
I got you.
that's expensive. Especially if you're trying to save up for like, I don't know, your next plot on upgrade, like your next upgrade to the plot, or um if you're trying to bulk buy, like, I don't know, the contract for like the mining. There are reasons you want to save up money, like like 10,000 goals, you know, and then fight like if the item or the tool you're trying to build is like requires three grindstones, it's like, oh, that's a $1,500 hit. And
Oof.
it's what it feels like. It honestly feels like you're playing like poker and like you've just gotten
Uh,
super debated. And I know that's something you have experience with. I watched your Red Dead poker tournaments.
oh wait, the pain. It's funny. I just
It's
love that you really do play against a person, not a situation. Like
no,
it's
I
a whole
really
thing.
wish we got to play.
Ugh, it's a whole thing. Well,
It is
folks,
a whole thing.
we're hitting that final moment. So before we sign off, I want to say thank you guys, especially those who made it to this point. I really appreciate you guys. We're not live, but this will, we want to make sure to give you guys the content that we said we'd give you. And
Yeah.
Johnny, just as my final question about Sandrock,
Mhm.
who is this game for? Who would you recommend it for?
Uh, uh, this is primarily a game for like the chill crowd.
Okay.
If you're not playing like 10 first person shooters and you're just trying to like relax after like a long day of work, this is the kind of game for you. Or if you played Stardew Valley and you're looking for like a clone, that is also a very prime demographic.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, as you're listening to this, I'm probably uh you know closing down the warehouse here. Uh, I'm currently, as you're listening to this, I'm probably like, breaking my back in hard manual labor in the storehouse.
Mm,
Which is why I can't be with you live. But you know what? You gotta adapt, improvise, overcome. Is that the Bear Grylls meme? Um,
right.
and I thought a pre-recorded episode is better than no episode.
Preach.
And you know what? If you're fans of the StarCrossed gamers or StarCrossed parents, maybe you'll have appreciated this small gesture.
I just want to say I really appreciate you guys. Thank you. It's been real. Um, I'm Baron J67,
And I am Johnny. Long live the Empire, reject the lies of the elves.
and make sure to check out our weekly content throughout the obviously, like I just said, week. We got Mondays, we got 15 minutes of fame. Tuesdays, we have Cogs and Machine. Wednesdays, we have Double XP, which is our flagship show. And then back again to Thursdays we have either happy hour or we have Take Two podcast, and then Sunday again back with us. But that's it. Johnny, hit him with the phrase one more time, the one that pays.
Uh, the phrase that pays, 90, no, no, never mind. Reject the lies of the elves, long live the rebels.
Oh, the Rebels. Yep, we'll end it on that one. All right, catch you later. Much love and peace.